righty. God bless you. Welcome to Let's Cross Together, a podcast with yours truly, the mental health coach, Fernando Cottrell. I want to thank you for tuning in. I trust that you're having a great day thus far. I missed you all. I haven't been on for maybe 3 weeks, maybe a little longer. I'm not sure. We're going to talk about that today. This whole COVID situation. And sometimes you might not be facing the COVID pandemic, might not be impacted uh, with that, but maybe there's some other areas in your life that has come against your mental health. And here at Let's Cross Together, that's our focus. We're dedicated to the ministry of mental health. So thank you so much for you all support and your sharing of the videos. Um, it just gets the word out, and more people are informed and inspired to aspire to do all that God will have them to do. So, um, as I mentioned um, in the heading here, I didn't put it up yet, but let me just put it up here. Um, I've been out of commission in the sense of uh, uh, well, about 3 weeks ago, it could be a month now, I'm not even sure. But my wife and I were tested positive for the COVID. And I tell you, it was something else. So many said, "Where are you? I didn't see your podcast. And where have you been?" So what I did was I started posting just old broadcasts, just kind of aired them and let them go for um, throughout this time. But we've been just laying low for the last maybe almost a month now. Uh, it wasn't a secret. We did talk about it. My wife did post about it. We shared it with people just to pray for us and keep us prayed up and so forth. But I wasn't on the air. Uh, so, um, but yeah, very interesting time. You know, many times we can be going a certain direction and doing a certain thing, then all of a sudden, uh, a curveball can come into the mix and change your whole direction. And when we tested positive for this COVID, it changed our whole direction. It changed our direction, at least for the past month. And my heart goes out to those who have lost their lives during the family members who have lost loved ones during the pandemic. My heart goes out to you all. My prayers are with you. Um, and like many people, they said the COVID wasn't real and it's this and it's that. But when I tested positive, the first thing that happened was when my wife had contacted uh, COVID, and then I tested negative. So I said, "Oh, I'm good." And even though I had a negative report that night, it was on. The symptoms started coming. I was feverish, and a lot of things happened. And I was like, "Wow!" Then I went to the doctor a couple of days later, and I tested positive, and we've been inactive ever since. From social media and just me doing videos, as I mentioned. But it was a time of learning. It was a time of self-reflection. It was a time that I was able to um, reset my focus, reset my thinking. And, and there are times in life where sometimes we can't run at the same speed, or we have to have a different strategy on how we're doing things. Because as we get older and as seasons change, we got to know when seasons change, what changes I need to make in this new season. One of the greatest frustrations we face is trying to live yesterday today, or trying to live in a season that worked and not recognizing when maybe that season is over. And when that season is over, we have to begin to shift. We have to begin to evolve. And these past 3 weeks, maybe 4 weeks of having COVID and being in the house with Paula, um, we've evolved in some areas. In a short period of time, we've evolved personally, spiritually, uh, emotionally, focus wise, financially. We've got a different perspective. And there are times when uh, things will come to knock you down, to take you out. But God, because of his grace and his mercy, we still can glean. We still can glean truth. We still can glean lessons. We still can have lessons learned, even in the low place. And during this past almost 4 weeks, there's been a lot of lessons learned um, that has really taken place in my life. Uh, I wanted to share that. I wanted to share our journey that we had. My wife didn't want to get on um, our journey from the pandemic, testing positive. Uh, when I first found out I was positive, um, I just said, okay, hopefully it's just be a couple days and it won't, you know, last long. Things won't happen, etc. Because some people, as we heard, are impacted differently than others. So you just kind of cavalier about it a little bit. So, but when I started feeling really terrible, and I said, "Oh man, I can't move. I can't think. I can't concentrate. I can't focus. I'm tired. I'm feverish. I got chills. My emotions are highs and lows. I feel good, then I don't feel good. Then I have a broadcast. Then I have the ministry. Then I have my counseling business. So all these things started happening in my head. Uh, so what I did was the very next. Let me see. I got diagnosed on I think a Monday, but on a Tuesday morning, I was feeling terribly, and I wanted to see where I was as far as doing the broadcast. So I got on and did a broadcast just to kind of gauge if I'm going to continue to do it while I'm feeling like this, or just have to just let it go for a little season and just kind of chill from that perspective. So I got on and did a broadcast, and when I first got diagnosed, the day after I got diagnosed, and I tell you, it wiped me out. It took a lot out of me, and I said, I can't continue this. So one of the things that came out of this whole thing, and I'm kind of nothing is rehearsed today. I'm just sharing. Hopefully, this can help you in a low place where you are. Uh, but I said to myself, with all these responsibilities that I have to be okay not being able to meet them. One of the things that loves to do to play with our mind and make us think that we're that important that we still have to fulfill everything when it's really a situation that occurs that you can't do it all. And so one of the things that helped me during this process is I can't do it all. I can't be all. I can't be everywhere. And I have to be okay with that. And sometimes that could play in your head because when you're used to producing, when you're used to providing solutions, when you're used to maybe ministering and preaching and doing things and being so busy that we can forget that we can't do it all. We can't be everywhere at the same time. And we are simply not God. And we have to be okay with the fact that there are limitations to us. So one of the first things I had to learn early when I first got diagnosed with this COVID, I did the broadcast. I did do it just to see if I can do it, just to see, am I still at the level? Can I go forth even though I'm feeling sick? Because sometimes if we're not careful, we'll live in the pressure of other people. And that pressure can cause us or provoke us to perform beyond where we are or what we need to do or be for right now. Um, so when we're looking to please others, when we're looking to satisfy their needs, we'll neglect our needs. So first, early on, I did the broadcast. I wanted to see, could I do it? And I did it, but I wasn't I was like, you know what? I don't need, there's no law to say I have to keep coming on doing this broadcast when I don't feel well. So we have to make decisions at times for our good, not always thinking of other people's good in the sense of well, they need me. No, your family needs you. You need to be well so you can perform better. And sometimes we think it's faith, or uh, if we just walk in faith, it's going to be okay. But sometimes it's not faith that we're walking in. We're walking in being presumptuous. We're walking in presumption, and we think it's faith. Um, but faith is not foolishness. Sometimes I remember there was a book years ago, Faith, Foolishness, and Presumption, by the late great Fred Price, and he was talking about sometimes when we don't exercise wisdom, we think it's faith when we're really in presumption. So for the last 3 weeks, I chilled. I haven't got on my computer. I haven't done any counseling. I didn't answer phone calls, or if I did, I let them know, or I texted, said I can't talk. I'm down, because sometimes when we don't feel well and people don't know about it, the tendency sometimes is to be mad at them calling you, but they need to know what's going on so they won't call. You ever been at a place where you get mad at people? You were there for them a few days ago, and they don't know that you are sick or that what's going on, and then now they're calling you, and sometimes the tendency is to get mad at them, but they don't know what's going on, so they're continuing a routine with you in a relationship, not knowing that you're sick. So I let people know. Let me say this: when you're going through things, let somebody know. Don't always think people can discern your problems, discern that you're not feeling well. Sometimes you can insult people by not responding to them because we think they should know that we're not feeling well, when sometimes you just need to say, I'm not feeling well, I can't talk, and then it's over for that moment. I think a lot of times we can take on things and create battles in our minds. That's where everything starts, the mental health. And we create these wars and these things in our head that are not true. We create these battles and these self-inflicted wounds, and then next thing you know, we're thinking negatively about people, about situations, and it really wasn't like that at all. If we just would have communicated in a healthy manner, let someone know, then it would have been it. So I want to thank all of you who called me, called Paula, who blessed us and prayed for us. Um, so let's talk. Let's talk. If you got any questions, anything you want, any comments you want to add to it, because this pandemic, you might not have a pandemic going on like I had or like we had going on, but you may have something else that's at a high level that's impacting how you're thinking, impacting your faith, or coming at you, and you're trying to figure out what to do. Sometimes the thing to do is to sit still. Like, this thing put me in a place where I'm a praying man. I'm a man of faith. I believe in miracles. I believe in signs and wonders. I believe God can do anything. But these last 30 days, nearly 30 days, I had to sit still and wait. I had to sit still and wait, and then couldn't do anything. So sometimes doing nothing is God's will. Sometimes we could be so accustomed to being busy emotionally. Even though we're sitting still, our mind is still everywhere. We can be in a spiral of busyness, uh, that we don't know. We can't function when we're shut down. So these past 30 days, nearly 30 days, I was shut down. I was praying, I was believing, I was trusting, and nothing changed until it changed. I know God was there. I know He listened to me, but sometimes nothing changed until it was time. And I want to encourage you, because some of you may be thinking, when is this going to change? Why hasn't it changed? What did I do wrong? Who who did I tick off to make this not change? Sometimes you've done nothing wrong. You're going to have to walk through the valley of the shadow of death. There are times where there's no one to blame, in the sense of you've done something wrong. Sometimes it is what it is, in spite of wearing a mask, in spite of trying to be careful and cautious, in spite of just making sure, I'm just taking the necessary steps to stay safe. In the midst of all of my efforts, this still happened. It still took place. I still tested positive. My wife still tested positive. And so it let me know that, you know, our life is in God's hands. There are times when we can do all the right things, and then the end result is the wrong thing happens. But it's during those times when you feel like, God, I've done everything you've asked. Surely it should turn out a certain way. But you know what? There are times where you don't receive what you sold. You may have sold one thing, but it comes back another way. And you think you should get exactly what the goodness you've given out might not come in the same form of goodness that you're receiving. It may come in a different way. So it was during this time of sitting still that I had to wait on the Lord. I had to wait on people. People call, people pray, people blessing. And so that was one of the lessons I learned, is that you could do all the right things and still not have the result that you wanted, but God is still in control. God will never let the negativity outweigh him or outbeat him. We just have to sometimes come to terms with it. God's results, or the rewards for our faithfulness, may come a way that 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 we're not accustomed to. So during this time of just sitting back and um, just really couldn't do a lot, and in fact, I didn't want to do a lot. And those of you who know me, I'm always producing something. I'm doing things, business and counseling and ministry. But for the past, I tell you, nearly 4 weeks, I didn't even pick up my computer. When I picked it up once or twice, I was like, I don't feel like doing this. And it felt good. And life continued on. Life continued on. People still being saved over here. People over, like, nothing changes because we step back. And so I want to encourage some of you, stop thinking that it can only be better if you're involved in it. Sometimes we don't know when we're burnt out. Sometimes we don't know when we're in a rut. And it takes situations like a pandemic, like a situation like this, or any situation, it could be whatever, to put us in a mindset to self-reflect and say, man, um, I'm not that important. I'm important to God because he loves me and he given his life for me. But we have to be able to say, you know what? Life continues. Things continue. God will raise up someone else. Someone else will meet that void. Somebody else will step up to the plate. And I don't have to put myself in a mental exhaustion thinking, how is it going to get done? It's going to get done through someone else, or it's just not going to get done, because if it doesn't get done, that means it wasn't that important that it needed to be done. So we have to come to grips with these moments of transition, these moments with monkey wrenches seem like come to detour our plan that we had. We got to get comfortable enough to say, you know what, there's nothing else I can do. So during this time of COVID, my wife and I, all we could do was just it was a blessing that I worked from home. So I was able to do some work at home on the computer. But as far as doing a lot of things like ministry and just counseling, I'm building my counseling agency. But for three to 4 weeks, I did nothing. And you know what? It felt good. It felt good to do nothing. And sometimes, and I teach this all the time, sometimes the best vacations is a vacation of just doing nothing. But I had to be reminded in this, like, wow, I didn't do anything. I couldn't, number one, I didn't have the energy to, and honestly, I didn't have an interest to. There are times where God will allow you, or just challenge you or us to step back from things. Just step back and get a new perspective or get a renewed perspective, and let's allow Him to strengthen us. Don't allow yourself to be pressured into performing, because it's hard to know when to stop when you are gauging everything through your own self. It's hard to know when to stop and when to start. So we got to learn to step back, just step back, relax, chill out. Uh, this COVID was real. Um, it didn't challenge my faith in the Lord. It didn't challenge my faith, but what it did do, I felt so. It was just the feeling of sickness was so strong. I knew God was there. It wasn't an issue of it. Why did you leave me, God, or if you left me? I didn't struggle with that in my mind, but it was just this feeling that was so awful. It's like, oh my God, man, just can you hurry up? I remember praying, God, can you just do something to take away this feeling? And all He did was just, I had to go on what I know about Him and His character. And here we are, I think a month later, we're crossed over a certain part of it. We feel a lot better. I'm able to do a broadcast. Like, as I mentioned, I didn't do one for about a month. I didn't feel like it. And it felt good. It felt good relinquishing the pressure to perform or to do something. And I think that's where a lot of us are. We don't know how to do nothing. And if we do nothing, you ever feel guilty if you're not performing? You ever feel guilty for relaxing? You ever feel guilty because you want to take a break, or you're around people that make you want to feel guilty? Taking a break, stepping back from things is not backsliding. It's called reflecting. Maybe it's called refreshing. Maybe it's a time of renewal. But for some reason, we hear rest, we hear relaxation, we hear resetting. We hear those words and we think backsliding. We think this person's getting weak or he's giving up, and we're not. We don't know how to rest. We don't know how to get replenished through relaxation and resetting ourselves and refocusing. So, um, so that's what I did during this time. I took advantage of it. Number one, I had no choice, but I had to really come to grips with the reality. You know what? I got to be intentional, or I can let this season of what I'm going through come and go, and I didn't learn anything from it. So what I learned from this, and this is what we're talking about, just casually talking today. These are lessons I learned from the COVID. Number one, things can be, as I mentioned, can go on without you. They can. Things can go on without us, or they'll be there when we return. Because the bottom line is we serve a God that's just not limited to only to when we're able to do something. He's able to let something continue when you come back. He hasn't forgotten about you. We don't have to feel like we're behind schedule. So we're always feeling under pressure. We're always under pressure to perform because we think we just have to do it. No, we don't have to do it. So that's what I learned again, because this is what I teach as a counselor, as a pastoral counselor, and as a coach, mental health coach, life coach. This is what I teach. But I was in a position to rehearse and to remember what I teach. So this was a good opportunity. Thank God for His mercy and grace. And so I just want to share these lessons. So number one, things can go on without you. Number two, there's nothing wrong with doing nothing. This COVID put me in a position where I couldn't do anything. And At first, it was like, man, because when you have a momentum of doing, and then you stop, your body has to adjust to the urge to do. Your body has to adjust to that. And it took me a few days. As I mentioned, I did a broadcast the day after I was tested positive. I wanted to see how I felt, but I'm glad I didn't feel the way I wanted to feel, because I probably would have kept going thinking, oh, I feel okay to do this. But it was doing that saying, I don't know, I need to chill. It's because it takes a lot to minister and to exercise, because you're using your emotions, you're using your body, you're using hand gestures, all that is energy used. And that first broadcast I did after I was tested positive, even though I went forth and I shared the word, it was still a lot of energy used. And I said, man, you know what? I can't do this. I'm exhausted. So you don't have to do it. You don't have to feel pressure to perform. What else did I learn from here? There's nothing wrong with just sit. There's nothing wrong with doing nothing. As I mentioned, there's nothing wrong with just sitting still doing nothing. Life goes on, or situations go on. Sometimes you just can't do it. And you have to be okay. We got to be careful that we don't find our identity in our performance, because if we're looking for to feel special through our performance, we're going to have to keep performing to keep having that special feeling. So we don't have to do that. What else did I learn from this COVID experience? Life is fragile. One minute things can be one way, one minute, another minute they could be another way. So it's good to really understand that life is fragile. Uh, God is gracious. He's a God of providence. He takes care of us, but there are times. Okay. All right. So, um, what else? Family is important. That's always family is important, and I wasn't able to be around my kids. Um, I had this quarantine. My wife and I, Paul and I, had to quarantine, and I wasn't able to be around anybody. No one could come to the house. So I realized, the importance of human touch and human fellowship. Um, what else? And listen to your body. That's one thing just wanted the lessons learned throughout the pandemic. And these are all things we know. These are not things we don't know about, but sometimes circumstances have to remind us of what we know. We all know these basic things to stay healthy and to do the right thing. We know those things, but sometimes we override the conviction of them in our hearts and our lives. Then we find ourselves in a rut. So these are not things that we don't know about, but I just want to encourage us to remember about them. Um, what else went on during this pandemic? My wife and I, we were able to um, kind of spend more, well, obviously a lot of time together, because we couldn't go anywhere. So we were able to just catch up on this time together. Uh, of just watching movies, laughing, um, just kind of hanging out together. That was a big deal. That was a big deal right there. Always a good thing when you and your spouse can connect differently. We were able to laugh and share and just have fun. Um, so just these are some of the things, lessons learned. Um, I had a lot of time to pray, um, because I wasn't actually on the road anywhere. So just being home, being able to pray, read my word, and just, you know. do that, of course. We try to do that every day anyway, but sometimes moments like these put you in a place where you see the value of the word more. And so I want to encourage you because maybe some of you could be in a place where um, you feel like you just at a hard place. You just at a low place. I don't know about you. You ever been at a place where you feel like you're losing your mind? I've been there. Where feel like you're losing your mind. You're like, oh my God, I can't take this anymore. But you know what? When you look back, um, I've been there. I've throughout my life, I've been there. Like God, I can't take this. If you don't come through, I just can't take it. And when you look back, you've overcome that what you thought you couldn't take, and you've gone through more things that you have overcome. And if you look back, you can see a trail of victory beyond where you say you couldn't handle what you couldn't handle anymore. Like God, I can't handle this. If you don't come through the night, I just can't take it. And if you look back, that's in your past. You've overcome that and more things, and look at where you are right now. So self-reflection is really key when we're going through things. If we could just look at where we have come from, if we have overcome the worst thing, how can we die when things are better? If we have overcome the worst of times, how when things are somewhat better, but we're still going through, how we're going to die when things are better, when we survive when things were worse. So that's why I talk about a lot of times uh, positive self-reflection. Oh, it lifts the mind. This is why in Philippians he says, whatsoever things are true, just, honorable, lovely, pure, of a good report. Think on these things. So it's when we start to reflect upon things that are good that have happened to us or that are happening even in our lives right now, they help counter those negative emotions that we are experiencing. If we could just reflect, this is why Satan attacks the mind, because within the mind is the ability to remember and to comprehend and to gather and to reflect. So if we can get you confused, you won't be able to self-reflect. You won't be able to remember God's goodness. You won't be able to remember your testimonies. You won't think good thoughts. This is why he wants to come at the mind. If he comes at the mind, he can detour us from what God is saying or what's in our heart to do. Most of the negative thoughts that we have is because we're not thinking about the positive things. We all have some positive things that have happened in our life that we can reflect on, whether it's a new job, whether it's something in the past that you can remember. This is why if he can attack your mind, he he can warp your perspective. And if he gets your perspective to be warped, that's when we end up in these low places, and we feel like we can't make it. But if we can reflect, if we can just look at what, just take a few moments and just think about, man, where have I come from? Where has God brought me from? When I didn't have a job, I have it now. When I didn't have food, I have a plate of food. You know what I'm saying? It could just be anything that we're just reflecting on that will help counter the negativity of complaining and wondering how we're going to make it. So when I was doing this last 30 day, almost 30 days of COVID, I had to sit still. I had to sit still. I had to ponder. I couldn't do anything. I didn't feel like doing anything. All I wanted to do was to get relief, and it seemed like it just never came up until the time it did. But during the time of it seemed like there was no change while I'm sick. I had to, but I had time to think. I didn't have time to do anything else, but I had all the time in the world to sit still and reflect upon all the blessings and the goodness that are in my life, even when I was at a low place with COVID. So I want to encourage you through this. Hopefully, this has encouraged you through the Let's Cross Together podcast. Thank you for this tuning in again. We're back on now every Saturday. Um, I want to appreciate you all for following, and we're going to be giving a lot more information because we're going to use this platform more to help people in the area of mental health. You know, as a mental health counselor, a board certified pastoral counselor, I believe it's my obligation by God and my calling, and as also as a pastor and other things I do in ministry, but to really help the church, to really turn my experiences and credentials and my expertise to help the body of Christ. You know, mental health has been a topic that has been swept under the rug. It's been a topic that many didn't understand. It's been there's stigmas attached to it. There's a negative stigma attached to it, and so it puts people in position to not feel like they really want to be honest about things that they are struggling with. You know, mental health is just it's not simply talking about disorders or dysfunction. Mental health involves everything. It involves relationships, financial perspectives, and social economic status. It mental health, whatever. You know, God wants us to have a healthy mindset that can be able to perceive and receive and to comprehend and to be able to uh, interpret and critically think. Mental health goes into all of these things. It's just not talking about mental diagnosis. And I think when we talk about mental health, people get they're afraid to talk about anything that has to do with mental health because it sounds like some kind of it sounds like diagnosis. And we make comments like, "Well, I'm not crazy." Well, mental health is not anything about being crazy. It's about having our minds functioning at the level that God intends for us to have it functioning, and we pour into and build pillars to help support um, His intentions for our mind, for our state of mind. So I want to encourage you to tune into the Let's Cross Together podcast, which is an extension of Bridge Crossers Solutions, where we have committed ourselves to the ministry of mental health, and I'm excited about it. And um, I don't know, this may be our 20th podcast. Maybe we got upcoming guests coming on, hearing people's testimonies of how they overcame things. You know, just let me just be real. We all have gone through some hard stuff. We all have gone through some things that we could feel ashamed of. We all have gone through something that we don't want to share about. But let me say this: just because you have gone through something hard, just because you've overcome something that you don't want people to know about, you and I are not a fraud. You are not a fraud. You are a human being that has gone experienced some trauma, some things that have been discomforting in your life, some dysfunction, but that doesn't make you a bad person. It doesn't make you unlovable. It doesn't make you, I don't know, unforgivable. What it does say is that uh, you've overcome and you're still living. That's what it says. That you are a champion. You are a winner. God is with you. Um, so what we want to do here at Bridge Crossers Solutions, like I said, our focus is the ministry of mental health. We want to be able to help the body of Christ, you know, from a Christian thought, Christian counseling perspective, Christian thought, to help people through life's challenges through the Word of God. And I know uh, God wants us to have a healthy mind. He says, "I will keep him in perfect peace, whose mind is stayed on him because he trusted him." And we need to understand, how do we do that? How do we get a perfect mind or have perfect peace? How do we do that? So, Bridge Crossing Solutions, that's what we're dedicated to, the ministry of mental health. And I'm excited about it because I believe it's God's heart for us to have healthy minds, healthy mindsets. Healthy mindset produces healthy perspective. We can think better when we got a healthy mind. So I want to appreciate you for tuning in today. We just kind of was freestyling a little bit, just talking, just wanted to share lessons from my experience with COVID this past 30 days, and hopefully something was said to encourage you, to lift you, to let you know that no matter what happens, where you are valuable, you matter, you're not a mistake, but you and I are a purpose. We are a purpose. We are not a mistake. We are a purpose. So, one thing, okay, as I close this up, I want to start tackling which we've done in the past, but I want to reiterate. Um, I want to do a part of the broadcast where we do question and answers. If you got questions and you want answered in relation to mental health and just whatever, I don't know. Just if I don't have the answer, I'll get the answer. But my background, as I mentioned, is a board certified pastoral counselor, a qualified mental health professional, registered with the state of Virginia. Um, my master's degree is in human services counseling. My undergrad is in psychology, and both degrees are in life, have life coaching attached to it as well. So my background is well rounded. Been in the field for quite some time. Been able to help people. So I am expert. I have expertise in mental health. I've been doing it for some time. Um, I also have colleagues that I'm in partnership with Bridge Crosser Solutions that are also um, have expertise in various areas of mental health and life coaching and human development. So send your questions. We want to be able to talk about things. It's time that we cross together. That's what we're about here. Let's cross together. Too long we have put stuff under the rug. We have been going through. We have hidden things. We got closets full of secrets. Let's start emptying out closets and getting free of stuff, and just so we can start living and enjoying life and being all that God will have us to be. It's not that many don't know what God has given to them to do in life. They don't know how to get past uh, many don't know how to get past their struggle to do what God has revealed. It's not that they're they're foreign to it. They don't know how to get past their past. They don't know how to walk past their past and enter into their bright now and transition into a great future. So let's just send your questions. We're going to talk about them. We're going to do our best to answer questions and dialogue. So I'm back. It's been a little sabbatical because of COVID, but I'm back, and we're going to be coming on Saturdays, and I'm gonna give you more information about viewing our podcast site. We're kind of transitioning our ministry in a different way. I believe what God has given us to do is to focus on mental health, and we are going to have our other teaching and preaching, but we're going to really maximize the use of social media and to get this word out. Just through this medium of social media, I've had 3 people share with me that they were getting ready to commit suicide, but they heard my podcast. And then we'll share about that later. So this is a powerful venue, a powerful tool to use to reach the world. The world is our pulpit, and we want to help people with the love of God and with the precision of his word. And we want to help people disciple through things and go and cross the bridges in their lives. So that's what Bridge Crosser Solutions is. We're going to talk more about um, our ministry page. The other part of our ministry, it deals with more of the preaching and just other things that pertain to ministry. Uh, we're going to be using our YouTube. We have a YouTube channel. We have 2 of them actually, and we're going to start building them out more because we want to help people. When you've overcome something, when you've been through something, I believe gives us an opportunity through that experience to be able to help somebody with our experience, to be able to share how we got over or how we went through or how we went around. God doesn't waste our pain. And so we want to be able to help people transition, ultimately cross the bridges in their life. So as I close, I want to thank you, and I'll leave you with this. Bridges were not created. to be admired only, but to be crossed. Let's cross together. All right. So God bless you. Share this video, and this is how we change lives together. All right. God bless you. Mental health coach Fernando Kittrell. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. All right.